What's going on YouTube? The draft is just a few days away, and I'm very excited to share with you my 7-round mock draft for this year's draft. This is the culmination of a lot of work over the year. I've done, scouted a lot of guys from this year, so I got them all right, like over 300 guys. And so this is just the AFC. The NFC video will be tomorrow, or at least sometime soon, definitely before the draft. So yeah, this will be the AFC, and to be clear, and I'll put this in the comments because I know some people aren't going to listen to this and then they're going to go complain. This is a what I would do mock draft. This is based off of my own personal rankings. There are going to be guys that go way earlier or way later in this mock than they're going to go in real life. I'm not saying that da-da-da is going to go in the 7th round. I'm saying this is where I would take him if I was in control of these teams. So these are my personal assessments. I'll put it in the comments, like I said, as well. But starting off with the Denver Broncos, oh, by the way, no trades. Starting off with the Denver Broncos, do not have a first-round pick. I think it's very likely that they end up trading back from 64. George Payton's made it very clear he likes 10 picks in the draft, and they have 9 in this one. 6, 7, 8, or they have 8 in this one, actually, so not even 9. I think it's likely they probably trade back, as well as to gain draft capital for next year, as they only have 5 picks then. But in this case, like I said, no trades. Brian Asamoah, I think, would make a great linebacker to go here in Denver. They could use that nice athletic guy, and Asamoah probably is already probably the best pass coverage linebacker on the team, so I think that's a great pickup. Rachaad White in the 3rd round, I think would be a great fit as well. He's similar to Javonte Williams in some respects, but I think Javonte is much more of that one cut back, whereas Rachaad can much more take it up the middle, but he's also got nice downfield speed as well, so I think Rachaad would make a really nice duo with Javonte Williams. Michael Clemens out of Texas A&M is going to be a steal for some team. I imagine he's probably going to end up going 5th or 6th round, to be honest, but he's going to be a great D lineman, and I think he would work best as a 3-4 D end, and that's what I pick him to be here with Denver. After getting rid of Shelby Harris, I think he'd be a great pickup. Jordan Tucker from UNC, an underrated tackle. I think he'd be also a good pickup. A bit more of a developmental guy in a way, but I think that's fine for the Broncos when you've got Billy Turner for at least a year. If you want to take this guy to develop him, maybe try to make him your starter next year. I think that makes a lot of sense. Greg Dulcich out of UCLA, one of the better blocking tight ends in this class, but dude he's phenomenal as well. I mean, he kind of he's not going to be George Kittle, but he does remind me of George Kittle in a lot of respects, where he's a great blocker, but can also really just ground and pound after the catch. Not the most phenomenal receiver, but I think he's got a lot of similar respects. So Denver goes Dulcich. Jesse Luketa, or maybe it's Luketa, out of Penn State. The Penn State guys this year, I'm not very high on. Him and his buddy, the other Penn State pass rusher that I'm trying to remember. Well, I think I took him to an NFC team, so we'll talk about him in that video. But as far as Luketa, I think he's a solid guy. He's not the most athletic in the world to me. And when you're taking a guy like this late, you're hoping they can kind of be more of that high upside. I don't see that. I think it's more of just, edge rushers took a bit of a fall in this draft. I think he can come in and be a very solid depth piece to that rotation, as they could really just use some pass rush rotation. Jack Jones in the 6th, I think, is just, again, a solid pickup to be a nice rotational guy in the corner room. And then Jack Cohn in the 7th, as I think they could just, it'd be nice to probably have a backup you can kind of sit, develop to be a good enough backup behind Russell Wilson. So, obviously nothing more than that, but that's going to be the Broncos draft. I think it's pretty good overall for Denver. Then we have the Chargers, and first I have the Chargers going Charles Cross. I'm not as high on him as other guys. I don't think he's a top 10 pick. He is someone where, yeah, he can start day one, but I would much rather have him develop for a little bit. But if you're the Chargers sitting at 17, it's very likely that some team's going to take him pretty quickly after you. So I picked him up because I think he could be a phenomenal right tackle for the future. Zachary Carter in the 3rd, kind of one of those guys where I'm pretty sure that he's going to make some impact in the NFL. He's not the strongest guy, he's not the biggest guy, he's not the fastest guy, but he's just all around a good player that will help out that D-line. Brian Cook in the 4th, a very good safety to pick up. I think he could potentially be your guy that you pair with Derwin James for that safety duo. Can legit be a starter even in the 4th round. This guy could be a steal. Forrest Ryan out of Villanova. a linebacker that, maybe used a bit better as like a pass rushing linebacker, not an outside linebacker, but, just a linebacker you have blitz. I think he could be used a bit better as that, but either way, just getting kind of a linebacker there. I mean, him and Kenneth Murray could be a pretty fearsome duo when it comes to rushing the passer. If you're just blitzing, you got a scary, scary blitz if you got Kenneth Murray, Forrest Ryan, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa. that's a scary group coming at you. Kyler McMichael in the 6th round is a guy that, maybe not everybody has a draftable grade on, but I do like the upside. I think he'd fit with the Chargers, so I like him there. Darian Kennard, definitely an unpopular opinion. He's a late day 3 guy to me. I've never been as high on him. I just don't get the hype personally. He's a strong guy for sure, and he's played good in college, but I just don't see it translating to the NFL. I think he'll be, at the very worst, a solid backup. I just don't think he's a starter level guy. And if you're the Chargers, you're taking him here to potentially see, can we develop him into like maybe a starting guard for us? Because I think for sure he is a guard. I don't see him working out at tackle. He is a guard for me. But you have hopes here, but I'd be willing to take him at this point. And then 4 7th-round picks. Austin Williams out of Mississippi State. Great hands. But he's not, just outside of that, like he's not great receiver, but it is a good pickup for the Chargers here. Bryant Koback, one of the more underrated guys in this class. Now, in reality, this guy's probably should go more like 3rd, 4th round. However, the running backs took a huge fall in this class. So a guy like Koback, which is very talented, falls here. And I think it would be a great pickup, more of that running back to match with Austin Eckler's receiving back. Jeremiah Moon out of Florida, a nice developmental edge where it's like, he's obviously not going to start, but maybe you're looking for someone that could stand in for Khalil Mack if he's hurt or, when he's gone. But a nice developmental guy. And then Jermaine Waller, someone that I really do love certain traits with, but there's also some very big concerns. He's definitely going to need a lot of proper coaching and development time in the NFL. And I think a guy like Brandon Staley could give them. Like if you give him, 4 or 5 years under Brandon Staley, I think Jermaine Waller can certainly turn into a serviceable backup level player. But as of right now, I think he's more of just probably a UDFA, but I would take a shot on him. Then we have the Chiefs, who have a crap load of picks for some reason. And in reality, I'm pretty confident the Chiefs are probably going to trade up like mid-first round. When you have 2 late firsts and all these 7th-round picks and stuff, I think the Chiefs will probably trade up. But in this draft where we're not trading, they're going to get themselves some very great players here. So starting off with Boye Mafe. Boye is a very good pass rusher that I think would work perfect in like this 4-3 scheme that the Chiefs run as kind of, like move Chris Jones permanently on the inside and put Mafe on one side with Frank Clark on the other. I think that can work brilliantly, and Boye Mafe can make a very scary duo with Chris Jones. Treylon Burks, I think, while he is graded as a 2nd rounder for me, because I'm also not high on him, and it doesn't really have to do with the combine at all, because I just was never that high on him. I think he's an overglorified slot, to be honest. A lesser Cooper Kupp, but a bit more physical. I would take him if I'm the Chiefs. The Chiefs don't really have that like slot guy. They have guys that can play in the slot, but just not that slot. And Treylon Burks can definitely be that for them. Roger McCreary, a corner that I really, really love. Talent-wise, Roger McCreary has a legit shot to be the best corner out of this class. I'm scared by the arm size, by the arm length. I couldn't find any corners that had such short arms and went on to be elite players in the NFL. So him being a 2nd round, late 2nd rounder doesn't mean he's not going to be a good. I think he will be a good corner and maybe even a starting corner. But I don't think he'll ever be elite just because, unfortunately, having that sort of arms at corner does hurt you. Trevor Penning, you're taking him to be your right tackle, and I think it's a great value pick at that point. Again, not as high as Penning as others are, but it will likely be a 1st rounder. I'm imagining, very likely top 15 pick. But for this, I think it's a great pick for the Chiefs here in the 2nd round. Eric Johnson, I'm pretty high on, especially after his performances. I believe he was the guy that, did the Senior Bowl and the Combine. And the All Senior Bowl. He got like invited right after the USF. I forget, it was like the USFL Bowl or something. No, now I'm confusing. He went to like some different things. He impressed late on, but besides that, I've seen him. He's a very impressive guy. I think he'll probably go day 2, and I think some team's going to be happy with them. And honestly, I think he probably starts for you at this point since Jerron Reed left. So. Now you have a really nice line with Mafe, Jones, Johnson, and Clark. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Tyler Algier, Kind of not a great pass catcher. Like I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire would probably still be your receiving back, but Algier has shown some very impressive things on tape as far as just running the ball. He can really go the distance on a lot of plays, and I think that'd be a nice little pickup here for the Chiefs. Jack Sanborn, very very smart, talented linebacker. Unfortunately, he's just very athletically limited. If he did have better athleticism, he's probably pretty easy a first rounder because he's just really outside of that very smart and stuff. But he does drop to this early day 3 because just the athleticism's not there. Very likely going to be a oh what's there's the linebacker that came out a couple years ago. They're very very similar. Pete Werner, where like they're going to be good linebackers in the NFL, but they're just limited because of certain things. Jalen Weidermeyer. I think people are finally starting to kind of drop on him like how I've been for a while. He started off as my tight end 1, but then over time just watched more. It was like, yeah, but what does he really do that well? He's a good blocker, but besides that, and I think that's why kind of what you're doing here if you're the Chiefs. You're just picking up a good tight end that, he's obviously going to be your 2, but he is a very talented blocker. So, I think pairing him up with Kelsey makes sense. And then also for 7th round picks here, Alex Cook, Caleb Evans, both solid secondary guys that aren't ever going to be stars, obviously, but just can be solid rotational picks. Chase Garbers, obviously going to be your backup to develop. Chad Henney's probably going to retire after this next year because the dude's freaking old. So I just a developmental quarterback. And then, a guy like JoJo Doman, where I think he offers interesting upside. He does have some interesting traits, but he's also shown some very, very poor things on tape. So, again, a guy that he's not going to be drafted in real life, most likely, but I would definitely, take a shot on him if I'm the Chiefs or any team. But, the Chiefs take him in this case. Raiders only have 5 picks. And in the 3rd round, I take Luke Goedeke, I think is how you say it, Central Michigan guy. Now, I think he's been fairly overshadowed by his teammate Bernhard Raymond. But, Bernhard Raymond. It's him or the other SAMU guy. There's 2 of them. But either way, he's been overshadowed by his fellow linemen. I think he is definitely worth a day 2 pick. He's a very talented guy that can very well turn into a starter for the Raiders. You're hoping in this case that he can play right tackle, replace Denzel Good. But worst comes to worst, you play him at left guard. I think he'll be a starter either way for them. I think he'd be a good pickup. Chase Lucas, an underrated guy. I think he can turn into a solid low-level starter, but I think he's more of a safe pick. Like, he will for sure make a team. He will add something, but his ceiling is not the highest, but, I think it's a worthwhile pick for the Raiders here. Gabe Hall, I do really like. He fell to this spot here, and I thought it was a great pickup for the Raiders. They don't really ever have, that star at the interior, and now that you got Max Crosby and Chandler Jones, put a big guy that can just kind of stuff that run, add some pass rush in there with Gabe Hall. Chris Paul out of Tulsa, not the basketball player, a solid guard where, again, it's like preferably in this case, Goedeke starts at right tackle, Chris Paul starts at left guard. Obviously, I don't think you can bank on both guys to work out here, but at least one of them, I do like Chris Paul. I think he offers some nice upside. Lucas Kroll, again, kind of same case with Jalen Weidermeyer. He's not as good a blocker as Weidermeyer, but, 7th round, I think pick up a solid guy that can block decently well, but can also receive decently well. He'll put up a good competition with Foster Moreau. I just didn't really know where else to go here. I didn't really see any other players I'd like taken for the Raiders at this point. That made sense, so I went with Lucas Kroll. Moving into the AFC South with the Colts, their first pick in the 2nd round is going to be Kellen Diesch, maybe it's Diesch, out of Arizona State. I've been a big fan of this guy for a while. People seem to finally start to be picking up on him as well. I think he's going to be a good tackle at the next level. He's not quite on the same level of it as an Evan Neal and Ekwonu, but, he's definitely up there. I think he'd be a great pickup for the Colts to play at left tackle. In the 3rd round, picking up Sam Howell. Matt Ryan's obviously not going to be there for too long. I think he will be good enough to get them some success. They're obviously not going to win a Super Bowl with Matt Ryan, though. And so I think at that point, when a guy like Sam Howell falls to the 3rd round, because the quarterbacks also take a tumble in this draft for me, I would not be taking these guys too high. In the 3rd round, you got to be looking at something to have a future because when they traded Carson Wentz, they had nobody at quarterback. So I think you got to have a backup plan at the very least. Sam Howell, I think, develop him for a few years under Matt Ryan. Who knows what he could get. Fourth round, John Mechie the third. I started off the whole process very high on him, and I just kind of slowly dropped. But he still offers some nice things. I think he'll be a solid depth receiver at the next level, and I think the Colts would welcome having him here. Jason Poe out of Mercer, someone I discovered more recently through Broshmo. Went and looked a bit, and yeah, I mean, the big thing for this guy is really just, does he play the same at the next level? Because the way he has played against, his lower end competition is pretty amazing. He's like probably the best guard, from that kind of level that he plays at. But that's just the main issue is it's a very low level competition. So if he can play like that at the NFL level, that's legitimately probably a first round guy. So I think it's one of those guys where he could buzz out pretty easily. He could also be like one of the steals of the draft where it's like that small school guy that everybody missed. Jason Poe could be a great player. Daniel Bellinger picking up a backup to Mo Alley Cox because, you lost Ebron a couple years ago, and then Jack Doyle retired. So you need a tight end. They picked up Kylan Granson, but I was not a fan of Kylan Granson. I like Bellinger here. Brad Hawkins, safety out of Michigan. They got a lot of, meh level safeties in there right now, but I think you got a guy like Hawkins where at the very worst, he'll probably also just be a meh level safety. At the very worst, he's definitely a guy that can bust, but I imagine he'll probably just be a good depth safety, but also has that nice upside. And then Allie Green, the fourth, not going to be a starter, but again, similar to Brad Hawkins, can be a solid backup player. It can also definitely just be a bust, but I like Green. I think he brings some nice play. He's not the most athletic guy, but I do like him overall. Then we got the Jaguars with this entire load, and at number 1 overall, I would personally take Kayvon Thibodeau. There's some concerns about his work ethic and all that. I really don't think that's true. I think it's a lot of crap. Maybe it is, right? Maybe he buzzes out, but I don't think it's true. At the end of the day, when you look at everything all considered, for me, Kayvon Thibodeau is still the best player in the class. He's played phenomenal at the college level, and if there's any position that translates production from college to the NFL, it is edge. So yeah, for a guy like Thibodeau, where it's just he's played so great, he's insanely athletic. I think he can play really anywhere you want him on, as far as outside pass rush, but I think I prefer him the best as like a 3-4 outside linebacker. So pairing him up with Josh Allen makes a very, very good duo for Jacksonville. So I like him. Leo Chenal in the second round is a very good pickup for Jacksonville. Kind of similar to Jack Sanborn, where he's a very smart, gifted linebacker, but unlike Jack Sanborn, is also actually pretty athletic. So really a guy that should be a first rounder, but he just kind of falls right to the beginning of the second round here, but that would be a great pickup for Jacksonville here. William Dunkel, and pairing him with Foyce would be awesome. William Dunkel, definitely a guy that I'm higher on than most people. I've talked about it with a few other people, but he's definitely one of my guys I think potentially could be someday a Pro Bowl guard. I don't think he will be a Pro Bowl guard, but he has that kind of upside. And in the third round, I definitely would love to take a chance on that. Jalen Tolbert out of South Alabama. Really love him. He does fall here to the third round. He's probably more of a second round guy, but very talented receiver that, again, I would very much welcome if I'm Jacksonville here in the third round. And the same case with Kirby Joseph in the fourth, where he's better than the fourth round, but safeties just take a fall. And I'd love to pick up a guy like this that, just could potentially very easily be, the best safety on my team day one legitimately. So Kirby Joseph, very talented guy that I would love to have. Connor Hayward, brother, I believe, of Cameron Hayward. And I wasn't really aware about him until the combine, but then showed some very nice blocking. Now, I don't think he'll ever be a receiving tight end much, but I think if he can just kind of pick up a really nice blocker here in the fifth round, I think it's worth it. Tyler Beach in the sixth, probably is not going to start for you, but he has done some nice things at Wisconsin. If I remember correctly, I think Wisconsin picked up like a 5-star tackle, but Tyler Beach has continued to start over him. I don't think he'll ever be like a great tackle, but definitely has that potential to be a starter level guy at some point. Prince Emily out of Pennsylvania, not Penn State, just Pennsylvania. Pretty talented guy. I think he can work both as a defensive tackle and a defensive end in the system, so I think it's worth picking up. Luke Wattenberg out of Washington, potentially a good center. He didn't show out that much in college, but has tested nicely and stuff. He's gotten on my radar. I think he'd be worth a nice late day 3 pick. Solid guy. Joey Blunt out of Virginia. In reality, should go more early day 3, but again, safeties just fall here. And similar case to Kirby Joseph, if I'm Jacksonville, I'd love to pick up a guy like this in the 6th round. You might have your safety duo of the future right there with Kirby Joseph and Joey Blunt. And keep in mind, they've still got Andre Cisco, which has an extremely high upside to his game. So you got yourself a nice young safety group here for Jacksonville. Dontario Drummond, really solid slot guy. Off the top of my head, I just don't think Jacksonville has, like, again, that slot guy. You've got good, talented receivers, but just not a slot. And Dontario Drummond can be that for you pretty good. I think there's a high chance, to be honest, that Dontario Drummond actually goes day 2 because he is similar to Deebo Samuel in a lot of respects. And obviously teams would very much like to have themselves a Deebo Samuel right now. And if they can't get one by trading for him before the draft, which I don't think he'll be traded, why not get one through the draft? He'll probably be a day 2 pick, to be honest. But for me, it's more of a 7th round guy. He's not going to be Deebo Samuel, but he is pretty good. And then in the 7th round, last pick, taking CJ Holmes out of Jackson State. Kind of just one of those, like, played lower competition, but has showed some nice things. Nice upside. We'll take a bet on him here at the 7th round. See if he can be that guy. So, yeah, I think all around, you've got a nice, good draft here if you're Jacksonville, and a lot of high upside guys, as that's really just where you need to go right now. I'm going to take a quick water break. So, starting off here with the Texans, at number 3, I got Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan, and I think he'd be a great pickup. I think he fits really nicely because for me, he is a 4-3 end. That's what I've always viewed him as. That's what the Texans play. The Texans are really keen on having, like, just a guy that'll go in there and work, and I think it just fits here. A guy that can come in and help, kind of restart a rebuild and be that centerpiece where it's like, I don't think you necessarily need to go with, like, a high upside guy here because you might still be a while away from actually contending. But if you can just get a guy in here that's going to give you a good play, going to be a good person that makes people want to come play for you, why not get that? So I think I like the idea of Aiden Hutchinson here to Houston. Then at 13, Jameson Williams out of Alabama. Get yourself a downfield playmaker for Davis Mills. And that's kind of what a lot of this draft is I could have gone quarterback, but in reality, I really want to see, is Davis Mills potentially my future? Because he played well last year. Surround the team with talent on both sides, and that's what we're going to do here with a guy like Jameson Williams. Just very fast. He's going to add a next level, right, to that team. And, we don't know. Maybe Mills can throw downfield. Jameson Williams is going to show us if he can. Abraham Lucas, not a high upside guy, but again, someone that's going to go in there, slot in at right tackle, because then, you can allow, not Jawan Taylor, Titus Howard, he can either play guard or switch him over to left tackle where he actually played better than right tackle. Trade Laramie Tunsil. You got yourself some draft capital there. And Abraham Lucas can go in there, slot in a right tackle, and play pretty good for you. Kenneth Walker in the 3rd round. Again, going to go higher than this, but at this point where the running backs fall, I'd love getting a guy like Kenneth Walker where he's pretty easily a running back 1. And again, just great weapons around Davis Mills. Jalen Petrie in the 3rd is also a great Steeler, as I am very in love with Petrie. I think he would be a great safety at the next level. Just, again, takes a fall here. I don't think he'll be the most valuable because I think he is more of a box safety, which is about his run. It's more valuable than running back, but it's probably like the 2nd least valuable position in the NFL. Thomas Booker out of Stanford, really solid guy that, again, I think works really well in this scheme here. Derek Deese Jr., similar case to, again, George Kittle in a way, Greg Dulcich, where he's a good blocker, solid after the catch, but not a great receiver. When you got Brevin Jordan, who I still think has a nice chance to be a good receiving tight end. Get yourself a nice blocking tight end here with Derek Deese, but potentially also your number 1. Faion Hicks, I think, fits really nicely with the Texans here. A nice upside guy that, maybe you can develop into something if you're Lovie Smith. Aaron Mosby, again, similar situation. A good upside guy here where he's shown some nice things. Maybe develop a little bit. He could definitely be a starter level guy in a few years for the Texans. Kyler Schott out of Iowa was a guy that I was in love with for a while. Fell on him a bit at a point just because it's like, yeah, he's a very high upside guy to me, but realistically, I think unless given the proper development time, I don't think will be anything, and that development time could be legitimately 5 to 6 years before he's a solid guy. So he's just very raw to me in a lot of ways. So if I'm the Texans, I'd take him just because I think he's worth the upside. Like, he can be a starting guy if you give him the time, and maybe you're preparing to have a guy, 3 4 years now. But either way, though, I'm gonna take a shot at him. And then David Bell out of Purdue, so another guy that I've also fallen on very hard. He's just not that impressive at the end of the day because he makes some good catches, but he's just not particularly good at anything. The one thing I kind of was high on him for his route running is actually not really that good when I've gone back and looked at it. So he's more of a day 3 guy for me for sure now, but I'd still like to pick him up if I'm the Texans. Then the Titans, I'm going to pick up Sky Moore at 26, a very good slot receiver. Pairing him up with A.J. Brown and Robert Woods makes a lot of sense. You've got a nice trio there. Now, Jordan Davis out of Georgia, definitely a guy that I'm not as high on as other people. I don't think he's a first-round guy. I think he is strictly a run-defending, 2-down player. You're going to take him in there, for first, second downs, maybe for a third and short situation, because he's going to go in there and he's going to fill up that, entire center part of that line, and he's going to be a great run defender. But if they're not running the ball, unfortunately, he's just not all that useful. He's an athletic guy. He's a fast guy, but he never used that athleticism or speed in college. He's a great run defender, but unfortunately, he's just not much more than that. So for me, that's a third rounder, but I'd still love to have him on Tennessee, and he's probably their best defensive tackle day one. Jaquan Brisker, again, safeties fall here, but I would just love to have him pair up with Kevin Byard. If you've got Kevin Byard over the top and Jaquan Brisker down below, he can get in on the run game. He does so many good things. Jaquan Brisker would be a great pickup for the Titans here. Bamadelli Olaseni out of Utah, a developmental O-lineman. For a team that needs some O-line help, there wasn't many guys to go with here. I'd prefer to just kind of take that guy where, again, if you give him the right development, I think the Titans are the team for this, give him the right development, this guy can turn into a monster in the run blocking game, and, well, why wouldn't you want that for Derrick Henry? Mark Robinson out of Ole Miss, I think he's a fantastic fit here with the Titans. They kind of miss out on linebacker in the earlier rounds, but, I think, again, great pickup for the Titans here. Cole Johnson out of James Madison. Now, I could have gone quarterback here. If I'm Tennessee, I'm still sticking with Ryan Tannehill for right now. Because at the end of the day, when Derrick Henry was healthy and when A.J. Brown was healthy, they played good when he had his weapons around him. Because at the end of the day, there was times where he was playing without Derrick Henry, without Corey Davis because he left, without A.J. Brown. A lot of the line was hurt all the time. Yeah, of course he's going to play bad in that. Ryan Tannehill's never been a guy that made his team better. He's one of those guys where when you give him the weapons, he'll produce for you. So if you're in a situation again where, he's not playing great or whatever, or, you have guys hurt, throw in a guy like Cole Johnson where he's, again, played at a low level, but at that low level, he just played phenomenal. And just throw him in there. He's played with low-level talent around him. If Ryan Tannehill's sucking, whether it's because players are hurt or not, throw Cole Johnson in there, see what you got. And then Josh Jobe out of Alabama, another guy that I'm very low on, but I think worth picking up here for the Titans, can definitely turn into a solid backup for the Titans. Then we got the Bills here. First round going Chad Muma out of Wyoming. I think he'd be a great pickup for them. Now you got yourselves Tremaine Edmonds, the other Bills linebacker that I can't think of right now for some reason. But either way, you're creating a really nice trio here with Chad Muma in the mix now. I think he'd be a great pickup for the Bills. In the second round, taking Breece Hall, who does fall to the end of the second round. Like I said, running backs just take a fall here. I do have a first round grade on Breece Hall, though. I do really like him. I think he's going to be an impactful player at the next level wherever he goes, but especially a team like the Bills, where I think they upgraded their line. And they do have a better line than most. The run blocking isn't fantastic, but Breece Hall dealt with a crappy O-line at Iowa State his entire college career. So for a guy that played so great against good talent, without good talent around him, give him a team like the Bills where they have such an explosive passing game. Teams can't stack the boxes against this guy. He's going to run wild. So I think Breece Hall makes a lot of sense for the Bills, and I really like the fit. In the third round, picking up Jaquan McMillan out of Eastern Carolina. I know he's not a guy that a lot of people are fond on. He is a very small guy, and I get that, but the upside on him is simply just too much for me to pass on. This guy can legitimately be a fantastic number two to Tre'Davious White. He's a good corner, and he can be a very good corner for the Bills if given the right time and stuff. And even day one can really go in and be fantastic for them. So I think he's worth the pick. Sorry, I had to take a weird break here, but so basically I'm just talking about Tyquan Thornton here. Flow here, they don't have like an extreme speed threat. I don't view him as all that spectacular of a receiver outside of that. A lot of people have like day two, like early day two grades on him stuff. And I just don't see that. I think he's a very fast guy. He's very athletic, but I don't think he's ever going to be like a great starting receiver. So for me, it's like, I think this is about where he should go. Tyrese Robinson, a guy that really can start anywhere on the line. That's kind of rare to find. I think there's really like 3 guys in this entire class that are going to be more day 3 guys that are so versatile. And Tyrese Robinson's probably the best out of all 3 of them. Is likely a guard in the NFL. Like at the end of the day, he's probably going to be mainly a guard, but can certainly play tackle as well. And I think that makes sense for the Bills here. I love Spencer Brown. I was very high on him. He was my tackle like 3 last year. I think he'll be a great tackle for them. They do kind of have some holes at guard still. Roger Saffold is going to start for, at least 1 year, but I think you could use a guy like Tyrese that's just very versatile. He's going to give you a good backup just across the line. So very good pickup. Dustin Crum, again, he's a developmental late round guy just because you really don't have a backup. Like, I don't think Case Keenum's the guy that I want to be my backup quarterback. So nothing more than that. Matt Hankins, I think a good fit in this. He's not going to be, even Jaquan McMillan at his best is way better than Matt Hankins at his best. He has some really big issues with just processing, IQ plays, but very athletic guy, pretty solid. And Neil Farrell out of LSU, just a big force that everybody was going crazy on for a while. And I was, again, still just never as high on them, on him as they were. But I still think a solid day 3 guy to pick up. Fits the Buffalo system that they like to run for pass rushers. I think he makes sense here for Buffalo. Then Miami only has 4 picks. With the 3rd round pick, they're going to go Dominique Robinson out of Miami out of Ohio. I'm very high on Dominique Robinson. I think he's one of the more higher upside edge rushers in this class that can be a solid. I think he can probably start over Van Ginkel, to be honest, but at the very least is going to be a very good backup to him and Phillips. Cam Jurgens, mainly a center, but I think can play guard as well. Very good guy to pick up here for the Dolphins. Can start legitimately at center day 1. If not, he's a very good backup to have here. Spencer Burford, again, preferably a tackle. Can also play guard though. And for a line that, they upgraded big time with Connor Williams and Teron Armstead. Their center and right side of the line is still very weak. Preferably, Jurgens and Burford starts for you at center and right tackle, and they play well. Is that going to happen? Probably not. But preferably that's what you're getting here. And then their last pick, taking Nefi Sewell out of Utah, a guy that I think has a very high upside. I think would be picked a lot earlier if not for Devin Lloyd being so fantastic. I think Nefi Sewell could have shown out if not for Lloyd, and so he's a guy that I would definitely love to get my hands on late day 3. Then the Jets, I think, end up having a great class here. You start off with Derek Stingley, who I've been high on since the start. I'm still high on him. People seem to be coming back around now. I mean, I think it should have been common knowledge, but everybody knew he was going to blow up, his pro day, and he did. He was great. He's an athletic corner. I really do believe he was coasting at LSU. He had some injuries, but he's not injury prone. The dude was the best corner in college football his freshman year. I think he coasted. He knew he would be a top pick regardless of how he played, as long as it was good. And I think people also got set up for false expectations, because if you were expecting him to play every year, if he did at his freshman year, you just had way too high of expectations. He was phenomenal. He's going to be a fantastic corner, and I think he'll be a great corner for the Jets. Then at 10, getting Ikem Ekwonu, a guy that I'm not high on, which is weird to say for a lineman, even though he's going at 10, but I think he's still a top 10 pick. He's a fantastic guy, super versatile. I mean, besides Evan Neal, probably the most versatile guy in the class. You're picking him to play tackle here, right? Start over Morgan Moses, George Fant. but he can definitely play guard as well. And I think either way, you're pairing him up with Becton or Vera Tucker. You're adding a great piece to your offensive line here and upgrading it for Zach Wilson. Then going back to the defensive side, adding Jermaine Johnson. He might just honestly be Carl Lawson 2.0. Which is kind of what worries me because he does not have high upside. I think he will be a good, productive defensive lineman at the next level, but he's just not explosive. He just doesn't have that upside. So he's a solid guy, but I'd probably just take him early day 2. I like the fit on the Jets though. Then just a few picks later, taking Christian Watson, a big, talented receiver that I've never been first round high on him, but I do like him overall. I think he'd be a great piece here for the Jets. Get a big downfield guy, but not in the speed terms. Channing Tindall out of Georgia, great linebacker. I think he fits the Jets here. I would love to see him here with Saleh in that defense. Haskell Garrett, kind of your replacement for Falaranzu Fatukasi, because Foley I think was a very underrated player where he was maybe a top 5 run defender in the NFL. He was just a guy that he would go in there, he would get his work done. He wasn't explosive, well, he wasn't a big name, but he did his work. And now that you've lost him to Jacksonville, I think replacing him with a guy like Haskell Garrett, where he's going to play pretty much the exact same role at a lesser degree, sure, but the same role in the 4th round, I think is a great pickup for them. Sincere McCormick out of UTSA, I'm a big fan of. I think he would make a fantastic duo with Michael Carter. You got your running back, you got your receiving back now. Then in the 5th round, picking up Jamari Brown out of Purdue, a high upside guy that could turn out to be well. I don't think with the Jets, he's not going to be anything. At best, he's probably just a low-level backup, but I still like the upside in general and could definitely turn into more than that. And then Tariq Barnes, him and Tindall would just revitalize the linebacking unit. I think they're both fantastic players, and the 5th round is a bit of a steal for Barnes, to be honest. So I like this. I really like this draft class for the Jets. Then we have the Patriots, and with the Patriots, first round getting Trent McDuffie. I think the real reason that they let go of J.C. Jackson is because he was mainly a man corner, which, yeah, he's a really good man corner, but I think the Patriots really, when you're going to more of a 4-3, you're going to play a lot more zone, I think, and if you're going to play a lot more zone and you have a need at cornerback, go get maybe the best zone corner in the class. And I don't think he's a bad man corner either. He just definitely shines more at zone, but I think it's a great fit. It makes a lot of sense to me. In the 2nd round, picking up George Karlaftis. I remember I had him at the end of the 2nd round a few months ago, and I just got absolutely hated for it. And I don't know. I've stuck with the same thing. For me, it's just a similar case to Jermaine Johnson, where he's not explosive. Doesn't have high upside. I think honestly, what'll most likely happen in the NFL for Karlaftis is teams will try to use him as an edge, and it's not going to go too well, and then he'll switch to more of that interior D-line role. And with the Patriots, I think you can kind of skip that, because if you use him more as like a 4-3 end, but the way the Patriots kind of like to, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it's a good fit, so I would do it if I'm New England. Then in the 3rd round, getting Lecitus Smith. This is kind of your replacement for Shaq Mason, which that trade still doesn't make sense to this day, but it is what it is. So get a guy that I think can definitely replace him. He's my 3rd ranked, 3rd or 4th, can't remember right now, but he's one of my highest ranked interior guys who just take a fall here. But I think he'd be a great plug and play player with some high upside as well. New England can do some nice things with guys like this. In the 4th round, picking up Dejon Dixon out of Nichols Cardinals. And this is a guy that I wish people would have kind of picked up on a bit more. I get that he's not the biggest name. He's not coming from a big school. He's not played the greatest competition, but he's a big guy with nice speed. He's got nice hands. His route running is solid. I think it's really just a case of give him a proper NFL coaching, which can teach him the things he's not great at, like route running. And with he's not a phenomenal, his hands aren't phenomenal, but that's something I think you can kind of coach into him. Give him Bill Belichick, and Dejon Dixon might be your receiver 1 in the future. I think he has that kind of upside. I really love Dejon Dixon, so I would love taking him here if I'm New England. Josh Ross out of Michigan, I think is a fantastic fit with the Patriots. He just kind of feels like a Patriots linebacker to me, so I think that's a good pickup. Romeo Dubes, a guy I'm not as high on as others, but he is an athletic freak in some rights, because he's really fast, but he's also not really fast. It's weird. He's bipolar with his athleticism, and besides his athleticism, I don't think he's particularly great at anything. Definitely worth, drafting because that upside is there. But for me, it's like I don't think he really hits on it. But if there's any team that can get him to hit on it, it's the Patriots. LeBron Ray out of Alabama. The Bama guys, Barmore and Ray, get them together, and I think they can make a great duo there. I mean, you've got who's the guy? He was with the Patriots and went to the Dolphins, went back to the Patriots. The defensive tackle, Godchow, however you say it. He's solid, but I think a guy more like LeBron Ray fits a lot better with Christian Barmore. And all of a sudden, you've got some really good D linemen on that D line. I mean, Dietrich Wise and the two Alabama guys, George Karlaftis, Matthew Judon's going to come in there a lot. So, yeah, I think you got yourself a nice pass rush there. And then another linebacker with Ellis Brooks. The linebacker room is not great for the Patriots right now, especially, again, you're going to be playing more of that 4-3 this year. Get a guy like Brooks in there. Not the highest upside to me. I know I'm not as high on him as other people. There's a lot of that here, but, Ellis Brooks can definitely be a solid linebacker for the Patriots here. And then moving on to our last division, the Bengals are going to pick up Tyler Linderbaum in the first round. I think it makes a lot of sense. Ted Karras is a much better guard than he is center to me, and Linderbaum is a fantastic center. So now your offensive line all of a sudden is Jonah Williams, Ted Karras, Tyler Linderbaum, Alex Kappa, and La'el Collins. That's a great line, especially for Joe Burrow. That's fantastic. I would love to pick him up if I'm the Bengals. Yeah, there's some concerns of, just is he that valuable? For me, he's still an easy first rounder. I would definitely take him earlier than this. It's just kind of how the draft fell. Linderbaum is a very talented guy. He will be one of the better players out of this class. Damari Mathis in the second round, I think, could be a fantastic corner for the Bengals. Probably better than Eli Apple for sure. So, I think he can come in there, be a good corner for the Bengals. Trayvon Walker, this is a guy that, there's probably going to be a lot of disagreement about this. For me, he is a third round interior D lineman, and there's a lot of explanation as to behind why. The simple fact of it is that he's not a good edge, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but like I told you earlier, when it comes to which position does production matter the most going from college to the NFL, it's the edge position. And Trayvon Walker never produced at the edge. Whenever he had a good play at edge, it was a gimme play. He never made a great play as an edge that I've ever seen. And when it comes to being more that interior role, because even as like a 3-4 end, I don't know about that. I think he probably works best as a 3-4 end, 4-3 interior guy, but he just simply doesn't win his reps. When he does, they're very easy, and someone messed up on the O-line. He's athletic, sure, and he does have high upside. Give him a few years in the right system with some proper development, and I certainly think he can be a fine pass rusher, like a solid guy. But as of right now, for me, there's absolutely no reason he should go in the first or even second round, in my opinion, which is weird because I think he's going to go very high, but he really should not. Then in the fourth round, picking up so I'm just going to call him Chig Okonkwo. I think it's probably Chigozium, but it's weird. Chig Okonkwo, though, out of Maryland, very good receiving tight end. The dude's really athletic, right? You saw that at the Combine, which is where he really caught everyone's attention and popped out and stuff. After the loss of CJ Uzomah, you got Hayden Hurst. Yeah, he's solid, but honestly, I think I'd prefer to have Chig as my starting tight end. At the very worst, he's going to be a very good number 2, maybe, like an Albert O type player for the Bengals. Then in the fifth round, Grant Morgan out of Arkansas is getting a nice linebacker in there, a guy that can be pretty physical, especially against the run and stuff. I think it's a nice pickup for the Bengals here. Then getting Jake Camarda out of Georgia in the sixth round. My second-ranked punter in a lot of classes is going to be your first punter, but there's a certain very good guy in this class that, is my number 1. But Jake Camarda, a fantastic punter, and, I think the Bengals definitely saw last year the benefits of having a good kicker. So now get yourself a good punter, since your punter is not very good. Now, are you going to be punting all that much because you have such a good offense? I don't know. But regardless, when you are going to have to punt, having Jake Camarda there definitely helps. He's going to be a good punter for you. Caleb Ellaby, again, developmental backup quarterback. Don't think about it too much. And then I think getting a pretty big steal here in the 7th round with Zach Van Valkenburg. who is, one of those like safer prospects. Like he's for sure going to make some type of impact in the NFL. Not quite on a Zachary Carter level, but he will make some impact. But I think he fits the scheme perfectly. I think he could be a great 4-3 end and add some really nice depth and rotation here. So for the Bengals, you already were so good last year, and I think he adds some fantastic pieces here, and some guys like that could definitely make an impact in the future, like Chig and Trevon Walker. Then we have the Browns, and they're going to go Devontae Wyatt. Trevon Walker's teammate that I think is much better. He's definitely going to be that defensive tackle that they've been looking for. I know I've been wanting them to get that defensive tackle for so long. I wanted them to take Christian Barmore so badly last year, and I think Devontae Wyatt would make a lot of sense here. He'd be a great fit. He's going to be a great defensive tackle for the Browns. Jelani Woods, a guy that everybody's really high on. He's still my tight end 3. But I do love him, though. He's a big guy. He's a very good receiving target, a good blocker as well. Could certainly be an elite tight end someday. I don't think he'll ever be that level, but he could definitely be a good tight end. And it's nice to have, that tight end 2 that the Browns like to run. He's probably going to be your 1 after this year. Jakari Robertson, a great pickup here in the 3rd round. They don't have the best depth at receiver, but a guy like Robertson, which will probably end up being a pretty good steal. He'll probably be a starter level guy in the NFL, I think, is a great pickup here for the Browns. Quay Walker out of Georgia, the other Georgia linebacker that's not quite as good as Channing Tindall, but also still a very good athletic linebacker. That'd be a great pickup here for the Browns. Nick Skiba in the 6th. You don't really have your franchise kicker, I guess. And like I said, like the Bengals saw that advantage of having a good, accurate kicker. Nick Skiba was a very accurate, good kicker in college. And I think it makes a lot of sense here. Again, he's my 2, not my 1. There's another kicker in this class that I do think is a bit better, but Nick Skiba would be a great pickup here for the Browns. Thayer Munford, kind of in that class of the Tyrese Robinson that I was talking about earlier, a day 3 guy that is very versatile, in Thayer Munford's case, very experienced. I think the thing that brings him down for me, though, is he's old, and we've seen his ceiling. And his ceiling is still not very good. Even at his best, Thayer Munford makes some very just not good plays. So I think he's definitely worth drafting. He'll be a great, versatile backup player for you, but I just wouldn't personally take him above this. I do think he is a good pickup for the Browns, though. And then, honestly, maybe the steal of this draft is getting Yusuf Corker in the 7th round. Yusuf Corker has top 10 safety upside. Getting that in the 7th round is pretty phenomenal. Again, safety is dropped in this class, and I'm just not as high on Corker because I don't think he can ever be really a free safety, but he's also would be one of the more athletic, strong safeties. The issue is that he's definitely a boom or bust player. Regardless, I would love getting a player, of that boom potential in the 7th round if I'm the Browns. So overall, I think this draft turned out very good for Cleveland here. Second to last team, the Ravens. David Ojabo, going to be their first pick. I think it makes a lot of sense. When you're a team like the Ravens, where you're going to bounce back big this year, obviously, as long as players stay healthy, you're going to be a good team. You'll probably make the playoffs, even in a very tough AFC. You kind of got to start going for those guys that are going to elevate you. And David Ojabo is one of those guys where, I don't think he'll really be necessarily that great this year, but if you give him a year, because obviously the injury as well, if you give him a year to develop, all of a sudden you come out where you're probably not going to have Derek Wolfe after this year, but you replace him with David Ojabo, who will have had some development time. He'll be healthy. You're adding a very good pass rusher to that defense there. Tariq Castro-Fields in the 2nd round, a corner that I'm very impressed with. I think he'll be a great corner at the next level, and they could use some depth. He'll probably be a 3, but he's a great 3 to have. Velus Jones Jr., I think that, again, would be a great pickup here for the Ravens. He's just a very good receiver, and that's really the end of it, is that he doesn't have those elite traits to be anything more than where I'm drafting him, but he will be a good receiver at the next level and is probably your 3 or 2 for the Ravens. Jamari Sawyer, kind of the last in that Tyrese Robinson, Thayer Munford tier, but I think he is the best out of all of them because his best play is very good. But he's, again, similar to the other guys. There are some plays where he just does not look very good, but he's a very versatile guy. He can play at literally any position. For a Ravens team where like their offensive line has a lot of injuries, they've got decent holes. I think Sawyer can kind of slot in at literally any position, play where you need him to. He'll probably start at a lot of points. I think it makes a lot of sense for the Ravens here. Christian Harris out of Alabama. You got Patrick Queen and you got Malik Harrison, I believe is his name. It's either him or LJ Fort. You got those guys, which are very good pass coverage linebackers. Now, go get yourself a linebacker like Christian Harris, where he's not very good in pass rush, but he is a phenomenal pass rusher. Like when you ask him to come up and make a play in the run game or rushing the passer, he does it very good for a linebacker. And I really, at the end of the day, he's probably going to end up turning into just a pure pass rusher at some point because he's just not good in pass coverage. But as it stands right now, I think slotting him in there as a linebacker and, kind of playing him next to Patrick Queen, you can rush 6 at that point. He'll be very good. You're starting to build a very scary pass rush here with Ajabo, Harris, Away. Calais Campbell's going to be there for a couple more years, hopefully. Yeah, you got yourself a nice pass rush there. James Cook in the 4th round is a great pickup for the Ravens. Gus Edwards is not all that, in my opinion, and J.K. Dobbins, although I do think he will break out this year, did get hurt last year with a bad injury, so we don't know about him. Give the Ravens a good receiving back here with James Cook, who is a very good guy. Great description. He's a very good player. He's just a great receiving back, but also shown some nice things on the ground. I think he'd be a nice duo with J.K. Dobbins, or even maybe your number 1 potentially. Matt Henningsen out of Wisconsin, another one of those guys where he will make some type of impact at the NFL level. I think it's a bit more than, a Van Valkenburg, but it's a bit less than a Zachary Carter. He's more of that defensive tackle role, so he's probably just going to be there to replace Brandon Williams after a couple years, but I think he can turn into a pretty good defensive tackle if given the time and development. Marcus Jones out of Houston, a guy that a lot of people are very high on. I'm not. For me, he's pretty strictly a slot corner, which is fine because, if you got Castro Fields, you got Marlon Humphrey, all that, like you've got your outside guys. Castro Fields can play the slot as well. Marcus Jones is going to give you some great depth regardless, but he is pretty strictly a slot corner to me. The main reason I take him this high is because he is a phenomenal returner, which you have Devin Duvernay, who's fine or whatever, but he will be your return man, and he's a pretty good return man. So yeah, he'll give you great depth at corner. He can start at you at slot for sure. He can play on the outside if asked. It's just not preferable. He's a great returner. I'd like to pick up here. Kyle Phillips out of UCLA. You got yourself a really nice receiving unit here now because you got Hollywood Brown. You got Velus Jones. You got Kyle Phillips. Pretty sure I'm forgetting someone there because I know Sammy Watkins left. But, Kyle Phillips is going to go in there. He's going to be your slot. Velus Jones, Hollywood Brown, they're your outside guys. You put Kyle Phillips in there at the slot, there's a legit chance he is kind of the next Hunter Renfrow. I don't think he'll be on the same level. I don't think he's as good as Hunter Renfrow, but he is kind of similar in a lot of respects, and I think he can be maybe 3/4 of what Hunter what Hunter Renfrow is. And I think it'd be a good pickup here for the Ravens. And then last, getting Charlie Kolar. Again, that secondary blocking tight end. Mark Andrews is a great blocker, but, if you have to have like a blocker receiver, getting Kolar as a blocker, who is solid, but I think he's like a very, very light version of Mark Andrews. Why not get 2 of them? Because there's just not a lot of places to go at this point. You just got such a phenomenal team. After this draft, the Ravens are looking pretty scary. But our last team in the AFC is going to be the Steelers. And in the first round, picking up Eric Ezukanma, a guy that me and Ian Cummings are very, very high on. I'm not quite as ride or die for him as Ian Cummings is, but I definitely do see it, though. He's a great athlete. He's got great hands, great route running. I mean, he's really just got it all. He just doesn't play with a good quarterback. So I think this guy would be phenomenal to add to the Steelers. I think he'll be great. Kobe Bryant in the second round, good pickup as well. I was really high on him at a point, kind of dropped on him, but he'd still be a phenomenal guy to pick up. He's probably your corner 2, maybe even your corner 1 in the future. Then getting Kenny Pickett in the third round. Now, the weird thing with Kenny Pickett is, again, obviously he's going to go earlier than this, like way earlier. For me, Kenny Pickett is a safe quarterback. He will easily be a top 30 quarterback. Will he ever be better than the 20th best quarterback in the NFL? Probably not. So he's probably your 20 to 25. You can't win a Super Bowl with a 20 to 25 quarterback. It's just that it just won't work. It doesn't work. So at the end of the day, I would just much rather take him to be a backup, and that's just what it is for me. I don't think he has the high upside play, and I'm a Kenny Pickett defender. I still think he'll be successful, someone at the NFL level. Like he will be a successful starting quarterback. But I would just rather have him as a backup, to be honest. So if you have Mitch Trubisky, where you're banking on Trubisky to go in there after a year with Buffalo and Brian DeBoll, if he's not playing up to par and the Steelers are losing games because they have a crappy quarterback who's maybe even worse than Big Ben, which would be pretty hard, but you never know. Get a guy like Kenny Pickett, where at the very least he's probably going to help lead you to an 8-8 record. This is a very talented, well, 8-9 now. This is a very talented team with a lot of talent around it. They just need to get that quarterback, and their replacement option right now is Mitch Trubisky. I didn't see an opportunity to get a better one. They'll probably trade up for Malik Willis, to be honest, if he's available. We'll see how that goes, but and I would love that for the Steelers. But in this case scenario, I just would rather go with Pickett. He'll help you, have a winning record at the very least. But he's kind of your stand-in for right now until you can get your guy. John Ridgeway, the third out of Arkansas, is really similar to DJ Jones of the Broncos, where he's a fantastic run defender, and very occasionally will he just completely blow up a play, passing or running. And I think that's worth a fourth-round pick for sure. He'll probably start over Tyson Alulu and is definitely your defensive tackle of the future, a big guy that will make a good impact. So probably worth more than this, just kind of where he falls to. In the 6th round, picking up Zach Tom out of Wake Forest has shown some very impressive things. I don't think he starts over Chakuma right away, but definitely can in the future. Again, has showed some very impressive things on tape at times. Dante Bull in the 7th round, more of that like high upside guy. He's a really, really big guy. Like his name is, I don't know if his real name is Bull or not, but either way it fits. He's like 6'7", it's like 330, 340. Very big guy, and that's kind of what the Steelers love, is they love just gigantic, big, powerful guys. And he might even be a little bit too big to play guard, to be honest. Maybe you're looking at him as like a backup tackle. But either way, he's a solid guy to pick up for the Steelers here late in the 7th round. For some depth and stuff. And then Sterling Weatherford out of Miami of Ohio. I just can't say that for some reason. Sterling Weatherford, though, a solid linebacker that I think, with some development with Mike Tomlin and stuff, can definitely be like a linebacker 4-3, a solid depth guy. But nothing more than that. Steelers were put in some tough situations here, but overall I still think this is a great draft that'll get them some good players and some good depth and help them out for right now, because at the end of the day, in the AFC, you're just not going to be competitive if you're the Steelers right now. So just go for some guys that are going to make some good impact for the future and for right now, because obviously they want to have a winning record. But that's kind of how their draft is going to go. But that is going to be the AFC, though. NFC is going to be releasing very soon, hopefully tomorrow, maybe even same day as this, who knows. But most likely the day after you're seeing this. If you guys want to drop your mock drafts down below, your team mock drafts, let me see. What do you agree with? What do you don't agree with? Again, this is what I would do. It's my opinions, not predictive. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you were informed. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.